Buy some inexpensive pumpkins in different shapes and sizes from the dollar store. I found a large-sized pumpkin at the dollar store that was covered with velvet. It was really pretty, but I needed the solid pumpkin for this project. So I cut off the velvet fabric and I saved it and will use it for another project. This pumpkin was made of styrofoam and so was very easy to spray paint a solid orange color. And I gave some small pumpkins a coat of gold spray paint. But let's add some details to some other pumpkins. Pumpkins have natural indentations in their surface, which make them perfect for painting stripes. Using a small flat paintbrush, apply black craft paint to the indentation on either side of a pumpkin panel. Once you have the sides outlined, simply paint the inside of the panel with the black colored paint. Let this dry completely. Once dry, do the same with the white craft paint by outlining the panels in between the black painted panels and then filling in with the white paint. If your pumpkin was a dark color to begin with, you might need to go back and paint a second or third coat of white paint. Let's paint a pumpkin with even more detail. Using a ruler or measurement tool, mark with dots the same distance down from the stem of the pumpkin. Continue measuring and marking the same distance around the perimeter of the pumpkin. Then take your pencil and connect the dots horizontally, creating a pencil line around the entire pumpkin. Take a black paint marker and carefully outline the horizontal lines, being careful not to smudge the wet paint as you go. Let these stripes dry completely. Now take your paint marker and draw vertical lines from the top horizontal line to the pumpkin stem. Then reverse and draw vertical lines in the opposite direction down the side of the pumpkin, using the indentations as your guide. With the black paint marker, draw X's in every other square on each row of boxes. This will help you to know which boxes you will fill in with paint for a checkerboard pattern. Carefully fill the marked boxes with the black paint and let them dry completely. So now you have solid colored pumpkins, a striped pumpkin, and a checkerboard pumpkin. Let's pile them up. Starting with the two largest pumpkins, apply hot glue to the bottom of one and glue it to the top of the other. Continue to hot glue your various pumpkins on top of each other in the order that you like. Take a terracotta pot or other vase and apply a thin bead of hot glue on the edge. Then apply a little bit of green moss to cover the rim of the pot. Apply some more hot glue to the edge and glue your stack of pumpkins to the top of the moss-covered pot. For some added detail, hot glue some green moss in between each of the stacked pumpkins. Display your new pumpkin patch topiary on a kitchen counter, accent table, or fireplace mantle for fun seasonal home decor.
I'm using a galvanized pail that I got from Walmart for less than $5, and I'm going to be using some brown chalk paint from Folk Art, but you really can use just any brown acrylic paint that you want to use. We're going to be applying the paint to our galvanized pail with kind of a dry brushing kind of random stroke technique. And then from there, I'm applying some white acrylic paint, just to kind of mute it a little bit and give it a little more dimension. And then I'm just going over it with my sponge just to kind of blend it all together. And I'm going to let this get a little time to dry. And then I'm going to do this same process again until I'm happy with the overall product. So I'm just going to let this dry for a little bit, and then we will move on to our next step. So in this step, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking 3 of these cute little pumpkins that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm using just a normal paintbrush with some of my white paint. I'm just using a white acrylic paint, and then I'm just kind of brushing and really just trying to paint this pumpkin overall just full white. And we're going to do this on the other ones as well. So for this next step, what I'm taking is my X-Acto blade and I'm sawing off the stems of my styrofoam pumpkins. And after that has been completed, I am going to be sawing through my pumpkins. So I'm taking a kind of a larger knife for this project. And I just want to say, if anyone is trying to do this project, please be careful, go slow. And for my next step, I am taking a brush and I'm actually taking some Mod Podge. It's a homemade Mod Podge. So I took some tacky white glue and mixed it with water thoroughly, and I'm covering my entire pumpkin with this Mod Podge and then applying my fabric that I had chosen. Now this fabric that I have is scrap fabric that I used for several other projects in the past, but I really thought it would be wonderful for this decor that I'm creating. I've also seen this project done with paper towels. So if you have a really cute design with paper towels, you could also do that. Or if you have another fabric that you prefer, I highly recommend it. So just going around, adding a little bit here and there. And then once that part is done, I am going back over with my brush and my Mod Podge, and I'm just completely covering it until the entire pumpkin is damp. And then we're gonna let it dry. So for my next step, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking my fabric and I'm actually going to be applying it to a paper towel holder that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm going to be wrapping the fabric around the base of my paper towel holder and then just using hot glue to secure it. Once I have applied the fabric to the base, we are going to be bringing out our galvanized pail that I aged, and I am going to be placing the paper towel holder on top of it. And the slits that I had cut into my pumpkins before I wrapped them, I'm just using those as kind of a guide so that I can cut through the fabric so that those slits are still accessible. And from there, I'm going to be bringing out some moss that I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be stacking my pumpkins on top of the paper towel holder through the slit. And then I'm applying the moss with hot glue around the areas that I kind of want to mask off, but also to really give it kind of a fun, mossy farmhouse, rustic look, but also with a little bit of style. So once I've done one pumpkin, I am moving on to the next and continuing with the moss all the way up until I get to my third pumpkin all the way at the top. And I had a branch from my backyard, and then I used hot glue to apply it to the top pumpkin. And then I'm applying some more moss around the base of where I glued it. I hope this inspired you to create your own pumpkin Dollar Tree topiary for your home.
First, let's prep the pumpkins. So let's remove the stems by just pulling them from the pumpkin, and we will reattach them later. So first, I spray painted all of the pumpkins a basic white. Once they dried completely, I lightly sprayed the pumpkins with a green spray paint, kind of like an overspray. And I did this by layering light dustings of the green paint and let it dry in between. This part really didn't take very long. Once they're completely dry, then we can reattach the pumpkin stems, which I had painted with a silver nickel spray paint and oversprayed with the green spray paint. Next, we're going to prep the styrofoam ball. So take a length of floral wire that is about double the length of the styrofoam ball and fold it in half. Now, if your styrofoam is soft enough, you can pierce through with the floral wire and just pull it to the other side. My styrofoam ball was pretty dense, and so I took an upholstery needle and pierced through the ball to create a little tunnel, and then I push floral wire through to the other side with the folded edge. So when that folded edge comes out the other side, just twist it to create a loop, and that's what you'll hang your pumpkin ball from. Then on the other side, you've got two little tails of the excess floral wire. Just take each one of those tails, fold it around the edge of the pumpkin ball, and just stick it into the side of the ball. And that is sufficient to anchor that floral wire into the styrofoam ball. Now is the really fun part. We get to glue the pumpkins onto the styrofoam ball. There really is no set pattern for gluing the pumpkins. However, I find it helps to kind of group the pumpkins in groups of 3, keeping in mind that a succulent will go in the center, in between those, filling in that gap. So to attach the pumpkins to the ball, you just use hot glue, put some hot glue on the bottom of each pumpkin and stick to the styrofoam ball. You want to hold this in place until it is set. Every once in a while, I needed to glue a leaf to a pumpkin to keep the succulent anchored. Once the pumpkins and succulents are glued to the ball, you will notice there are still nooks and crannies, so fill those with moss. A little bit of hot glue is all you need to attach the moss and fill those spaces. And just stuff the moss in and fill those spots. I think this was my favorite part of the project because I can really see what the ball is going to look like when it's finished. Finally, tie a ribbon to the wire loop that you made earlier on, and you now have a beautiful pumpkin ball that is ready for hanging. I have used this hanging from our front porch. I tried it hanging from a shepherd's hook in the backyard, and might even have it hanging from our back door.
I grabbed one of these carvable pumpkins from Michael's. We can take a knife. I like to use serrated. It's a little bit safer in my opinion. There's a seam. So I'm just going to trace that entire seam all the way around and split this pumpkin into two. I'm going to start at the top and poke my knife in. And just like carving a real pumpkin, there's two things to note. Do it in small pieces or small increments, and also to be very, very careful. We do not want to cut ourselves. Now that we've cut all the way through the pumpkin, when we let go, it splits into two, which is exactly what we want. Now I have a little brick of leftover styrofoam, and I'm just going to add some hot glue using my glue skillet and a scrap stem right to the top. So I'm just going to take this, I'm going to place it close towards the stem, and we can build an arrangement right on top of this. Now I have some beautiful sunflowers, and you can find all sorts of flowers, greenery, and ribbon from nicksseasonaldecor.com. All I'm going to do is I'm going to snip off each flower individually. I'll just dip the flowers into hot glue and poke them right into the styrofoam. I start with one up top, then we're going to place one on either side, and then our final one will go right in the middle. Now we also have the leaves that came off of those sunflowers, and for these we can also just snip off and we can use these as filler. And we can just take those and work them right into the styrofoam as well. And after coming back in with just a few of those leaves, it definitely bulked up this design and covered up a lot of that styrofoam. So from here on out, we're not really trying to cover our mechanics. We're more so just trying to accent it with various other flowers and greenery. Before we add anything else, I do want to work in a simple little bow. So all I'm going to do is a bow tie. We're going to create one loop, have one long tail hanging down below, create a second loop, and another long tail down below. Then we're going to take a wire and just secure our little bow tie together. Now we're going to take our bow and place it on one side. Doesn't matter which side, whichever one you prefer. Now I'm just taking some more leftover greenery and just tucking it in. We've already worked those broadleaf sunflower leaves in. After filling in with your greenery, you can fluff your bow out again, adjust, and see if there's any bare spots where you can come back in with an extra piece or two. The perk of this design is when you flip it over, your wreath hook, command strip, you name it, will sit perfectly flat here, and there's no need to add an extra hanger. Of course, if you would like to, you can absolutely create a little hook, but I actually just tried this out and it hangs perfectly fine. And here's how it looks, you guys. I absolutely love it on my wall. You can place this around picture frames. You can have this on your front door. You can use this as a wreath. You could use this as wall decor, you name it. And pumpkins come in all different sizes, shapes, and colors. Of course, you do want to make sure that you're using a hollow one, but other than that, just cut your pumpkin in half, add some flowers, a little bit of greenery, and maybe even a little bow, and you have a beautiful fall display.
Fall has arrived, which means it's time to head to the Dollar Tree. To make my pumpkin look a bit more natural, I first mixed a few shades of brown paint together that I already had on hand and painted the stem. Once the paint was dry, I grabbed all my floral bunches and cut the flowers off the stem using wire cutters, trying to get as close to the back of the flower as I could. Then I removed the plastic backing. This part is optional, but I found it important and helpful in achieving the look I was envisioning. Next, it was time to start applying the flowers to the pumpkin. I started off with my largest flower, added a good amount of hot glue to the back, and placed it on the pumpkin. Then I filled in around that flower with the smaller red, orange, and off-white flowers. I worked around, filling in gaps, and made sure to alternate the colors and sizes of flowers over the entire pumpkin. I made sure to put flowers from the stem all the way to the bottom, leaving space on the very bottom so that the pumpkin sat nicely on a flat surface. Lastly, I tied 2 pieces of curly twine together and hot glued them to the stem of the pumpkin to mimic a vine. I love how cute this floral pumpkin turned out, and I'm so excited to add it to my fall decor collection this year.
When I found these pumpkins, I looked beyond their bright orange color and saw their beautiful shapes instead. To start, I grabbed 2 of my favorite colors of paint, a creamy beige, and a duck egg blue. I'm going to paint one of the smaller pumpkins in each of these colors, and then I'm going to mix the two together for the largest pumpkin. While the paint is drying, I'm going to make some air dry clay flowers. To make sure the clay releases, I'm going to dust the molds with cornstarch. Now I'm going to fill the flower molds with the clay and make sure it's nice and packed down so it gets into all those little details. The clay is easy to release from the flexible molds now. For the largest pumpkin, I'm making a variety of flowers, including rosebuds and daisies and even a sunflower. With the flowers all made, it's time to arrange them and adhere them to the pumpkin. A little tacky glue all over the back of the flower adheres them really well. I'm going to keep adding the flowers I made to one side of the pumpkin until I have an arrangement I like. With everything ready, I'm going to give the pumpkins and flowers a coat of paint in the same color I used for the first coat. I want to make sure that I get all of the little nooks and crannies around the flowers so that they're all completely covered. Now that the paint is dry, I want to add a little glaze to highlight the beautiful flowers. The glaze is a light brown and will add just a bit of an antique feel to the pumpkins. Using a small brush really helps to get it into all of those little small spots. After getting it in where I want it, I'm just using a cloth to wipe it off all the high points. Finally, to finish off my pumpkins, I want to add some stems. I remove these plastic ones that came with the pumpkins, and I want to use a little piece of wood instead to give it a really rustic look. I can't believe how different these pumpkins look now. I love the soft colors and the pretty flowers. I hope this has inspired you to grab some dollar store pumpkins and give them a beautiful makeover as well.
Do you have dollar store pumpkins and don't know what to do with them? Let's give these beauties a colorful fall makeover. Take a larger faux pumpkin and remove the top stem. With some painter's tape, tape around the circumference of the pumpkin and press the edge of the tape against the pumpkin securely. Using a bold craft paint and a color you love, paint the top half of the pumpkin and let dry completely. Once dry, remove the painter's tape and paint the bottom half in a bold, contrasting color. You can tape off the top if you want, or just freehand paint to the edge like I did. While the pumpkin is drying, take some letterboard letters and spell out the word fall. Spell out the word twice, so double up on each letter. Yes, that is a lot of the letter L. With some tweezers, grab the corner of each letter and dunk in your craft paint. Dunk one set of letters that spell the word fall in one color of paint and dunk the other set in your contrasting color. Use a glue gun to glue the word fall to the pumpkin on the top half and along the line where the two colors meet. Glue the color of letters that contrasts with the colored section of the pumpkin. Glue them close to the line that divides the two contrasting colors. Take the second set of letters that contrasts with the bottom of the pumpkin and glue them upside down. Everyone will know the season when they see this adorable pumpkin. Take a colorful patterned paper napkin and separate the layers. You are going to use the layer that has the pattern on it. Remove the stem from a dollar store pumpkin. Brush decoupage glue to the entire outside of the pumpkin. Let it sit for a few minutes and then place the patterned napkin on top of the pumpkin. Working from the top down, press and smooth the napkin onto the pumpkin. Use your fingers to press the napkin into the grooves of the pumpkin. When you get to the bottom of the pumpkin, take some scissors and cut off the excess paper. Then apply some more decoupage glue to secure the ends of the paper to the bottom of the pumpkin. Now give the entire paper-covered pumpkin a full brushing of the decoupage glue. Let it dry completely and then poke the stem back into the top. The sky is the limit with all of the different paper napkin patterns you can use with decoupage no-carve pumpkins. Take a small dollar store pumpkin and remove its stem. Then take a larger dollar store pumpkin and remove its stem. Poke the larger stem into the smaller pumpkin, so you're just switching the stems. Next, gather some colorful small pom-poms. I took a dollar store pom-pom garland and cut the strings. With a glue gun, start gluing the poms onto the small pumpkin starting at the top. You can glue in a specific pattern, or if you like, just glue randomly like I did. Don't worry about gluing palms on the very bottom of the pumpkin. This perky pom-pom pumpkin couldn't be cuter sitting on a cart, bookshelf, or stack of books. I hope this inspired you to create no-carve decorative pumpkins with paint, glue, and fun embellishments.
Last time I was at my local dollar store, I spotted these styrofoam pumpkins, and you will notice that they're a little bit shiny, and I want to paint these, so I'm going to come in with some Krylon primer spray paint, just white, and I'm going to give these a very light coat. This is just to take away the sheen and make my acrylic paint stick better to the styrofoam pumpkins. And then I took them back inside and I took some acrylic paint to cover these pumpkins. So the first shade here I just have is like an antique white shade. I'm going to paint that one just white, but then I want to do some different colors on the others. So I'm going to mix up my own custom color here, just using a bit of beige, some pink, and a little bit of orange to create that pastel peachy orange color. I did two other colors as well, a more lighter orange and then a nice sage green one for the top. I next came in with this pickling white wax from Dixie Belle, just in the indent lines. I rubbed this in here and then smoothed it out with a cloth just to give my pumpkins some definition and some realness to them. I also went over with a darker orange in the indent lines on some of the pumpkins just to give that more realistic definition look. So you can see here I'm just taking this straight orange and going right over and then wiping it back off again, and it's kind of rubbing this orange paint into the wax as well, and I thought this gave it a really realistic look. I'm going to take this dowel, which has a rounded side and a flat edge, and I'm going to poke it down through the pumpkin. Then I'm just going to begin poking on my other pumpkins as well, making sure to leave space at the end of the dowel and at the top. I poked my pumpkins on in different areas to give them that more staggered look. Then I'm going to take this rustic bucket that I had just kicking around my house. I'm going to weigh it down with a rock, put some paper in, and then I'm going to push a styrofoam ball in there, and I'm going to push the end of the dowel into the styrofoam ball, and this holds my pumpkins in the pail. Where the pumpkins meet the rim of the pail, I'm going to shove in some of this natural looking grass here, and then I'm also going to paint some of the stems of the pumpkins and stick them back in. And I'm going to decorate the tops of the pumpkins as well with just some faux greenery that I had picked up from the fall section from Dollar Tree. I also made a little sign here for the top. Now I made this sign myself with my laser engraving machine, but you can get tons of different cute fall signs from your local dollar store, Dollar Tree. There are lots of options out there if you don't have a sign making machine. I finished adding on all the touches of decor that I wanted to adorn my pumpkins, and this is the finished look here. This looks so cute on my porch, and I'm so happy with how it turned out, and it didn't cost me very much money at all. Just a few styrofoam pumpkins from the dollar store, some added greenery, and a beautiful fall display for my fall front porch that looks like it came from a high-end decor store.
Pick up a couple of carvable fake pumpkins. I'm using a pumpkin carving tool. These are great. They come in a kit and they're really great for fake pumpkins and real ones. I'm starting by printing out my address in big bold numbers, and then I'm going to trace them onto the pumpkins. For the first number in my address, I'm going to actually cut the bottom of the pumpkin and then cut out the number 5. With all the numbers and everything cut out, it's time to start assembling. I'm going to take my fairy lights and just place them inside of each pumpkin with a battery pack hanging out. Then I can stack them on top of one another. The top pumpkin has the hole in the bottom so that the stem is still intact on top. Once I know I have everything exactly how I want it, I'm going to use a little hot glue just to secure the pumpkins to one another. Now I can add a little bit of fall decoration. I've got some faux leaves here, and I'm just going to place these around the pumpkins. I'm also going to place a few faux leaves on the plastic planter that I'm using. And finally, I'm going to hang the battery packs inside the planter, and then I'm going to place the pumpkin topiary on top. Now I've got this really cute address sign that can sit on my front porch for fall.
If you have any wicker baskets laying around, this is going to be a really easy project to decorate your door for Halloween. I took this spray foam. You can get it in any kind of foams that you like. And I filled this up You have to give it about 36 hours to dry, and then it's ready to go. Now we're gonna go ahead and give this basket 2 coats of orange spray paint. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take and cut out the jack-o'-lantern face on some foam board. Now that we have our jack-o'-lantern face, we're gonna go ahead and attach it to the basket. Once you have your basket sprayed and your jack-o'-lantern face on, now it's time to add all the lovely florals. So what you want to do the very first time is you're going to find your main focal flower and you're going to add those in first. And usually what you want to do is do them in odd numbers. You don't have to worry about gluing right now. You can come back at the end and take your glue gun and just start squirting some glue underneath all of the stems. And we're going to start filling in between the 3 sunflowers. This is a very, very simple project to do. Now I also have these lovely velvet pumpkins. I'm gonna place those in and then I'm gonna come back and fill in all the spaces that are still a little bit bare. We're gonna go ahead and take some more of these florals and just fill in all the little areas just to give us some more texture and depth. When you get these kind of florals, you wanna bring them to life. Don't let them just look like they're nice and flat. Just start bending and moving them and putting them in a really nice position so that it looks like it's more natural. Now we want to finish off the design using some beautiful fun ribbons for our Halloween fall season. All right, so I have this really fun jack-o'-lantern ribbon. It's a 1.5 inch. You're going to go ahead and do a dovetail. To do that, what you want to do, fold your ribbon in half, start on that folded edge, just cut it an angle uphill. I'm going to measure to make sure both loops are the exact same size. You're going to pinch it in, give it a twist, and then just cut it off, okay? We're going to come back in with our next ribbon, doing the same thing, making the loops about the same exact size. And then the last one is going to be this orange, which is tying it into everything that we are doing right here. And we're just going to place that in over the top. Again, keep measuring your loops so they're the exact same size, and then cut your tail. I'm actually going to use this part of my zip tie and I'm going to stick that down in to the design. I absolutely love the way this has turned out. Just starting with a simple basket, adding some foam, a little bit of florals, put a cute little pumpkin face on, and then you've got this gorgeous little door hanger that can carry you through the fall or even into Halloween.
For this project, you're going to need some stovetop burners. Start by placing your burners upside down onto some cardboard boxes. Spray paint the borders with orange spray paint. While the paint's drying, glue your boards together. Once the burners are dry, place them on top of your wood boards and then hot glue them into place to secure them. Grab your vine and wrap it around the wood boards in between and around the burners. Grab some ribbon, cut it off, and make a bow. Hot glue the ribbon into place above each of the burner pans. Cut out a pumpkin face and place it onto the burners. Use some glue and glue the faces into place. Your pumpkin display is ready. I place mine in a little flower pot and by my front door.
These broken rackets were no longer useful, so I thought it would be fun to turn them into something charming for fall. I started this project by cutting off the handles of the rackets. With the rackets cut and ready to go, it's time to grab some paint. I'm using orange paint and I'm going to cover both the wood and metal frames as well as the racket strings. The chalk paint I'm using should have no issues sticking to it at all. The frames and strings will need 2 coats of the orange paint. For the top of each racket, I'm going to paint it using the same paint but in brown. I want to make sure and paint the sides as well so there's nothing showing. While the paint is drying, I want to make some vines. I'm going to pour some clear glue into a container and drop some of this thick jute twine into it. I want to completely soak the jute twine in the clear glue so that it's all covered. I can squeeze out the excess glue with my fingers. To get the shape I want for the vines, I'm going to wrap the gluey twine around a dowel rod and then leave them overnight to dry like this. Now that the glue is all dry, I want to pop the twisty vines off the dowel rod. How cute are these? For the largest of the rackets, I want to do something a little different. I found this great chunky yarn in a beautiful fall color, and it's going to be perfect to fill in the middle of the racket. I've slipped the end of the yarn through a large needle, and I'm going to thread the yarn in and out down the row of the racket. To keep the ends of the yarn in place, I'm adding a dab of hot glue to the back at the top and the bottom. I'll keep filling in the rows until they're all filled with the yarn. To finish off the top of the rackets, I have some old bark that I want to add to that part. It's going to be great to add some texture and contrast. Some hot glue will keep the bark in place and it'll cover up the tops of the rackets. It's time to add the vines and finish these off. I'm just going to snip the vine in half and then hot glue one end behind the bark piece. I'm so excited to finally be able to use these old rackets. These pumpkins are perfect to leave up all fall and look so cute sitting on the shelf. I hope this has inspired you to turn your old rackets into some fall pumpkins as well. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Home Talk. I'll see you next time.